The Hirak movement in Algeria is a potent example of people power. Originating in 2019, this peaceful mass protest movement has transformed the political landscape of Algeria, heralding a new era of civic engagement and political activism in the country. To understand the Hirak movement, we need to delve a little into Algeria's political history. For decades, Algeria had been under the rule of President Abdelaziz Bouteflika. Bouteflika's presidency, which spanned from 1999 to 2019, was marked by periods of stability but also accusations of corruption and a lack of political freedom. In February 2019, the ailing Bouteflika, who had suffered a stroke in 2013, announced he would be seeking a fifth term in office. This sparked a nationwide wave of protests that would come to be known as the Hirak movement. For millions of Algerians, Bouteflika's bid for a fifth term was a step too far, symbolizing a political elite disconnected from the people and their concerns. Every week, in cities across Algeria, people took to the streets in peaceful protests, demanding change. Their demands went beyond the resignation of Bouteflika. They were calling for an overhaul of the entire political system. Bouteflika resigned in April 2019 under pressure from the protests and the military, but the Hirak movement didn't stop. They saw Bouteflika's resignation as a small victory in a much larger fight against le pouvoir, or the power, a term used to describe the military, political and business elites who have controlled Algeria since independence. The resilience and persistence of the Hirak protesters led to a political crisis in the country. The presidential election, initially scheduled for July 2019, had to be postponed twice because of the mass protests. It was finally held in December 2019, with Abdelmadjid Tebboune, a former prime minister under Bouteflika, emerging as the winner. However, the Hirak movement saw this as a continuation of the old regime. Despite the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the protests continued into 2020 and 2021. The government responded with a mix of concessions and crackdowns. They introduced constitutional reforms, supposedly to address some of the protesters' demands, and also arrested and imprisoned many activists and journalists, drawing criticism from human rights groups. In 2021, Tebboune announced a series of political reforms including changes to the electoral law and the dissolution of the lower house of parliament. However, the Hirak movement, dissatisfied with the pace and direction of reforms, continued their protests. The Hirak movement has profoundly influenced Algeria's political landscape. It's brought about an awakening of political consciousness and civic activism. It has shown the power of peaceful protest and displayed the resilience and unity of the Algerian people. However, challenges remain. The government's response to the movement has been inconsistent. Concessions have often been followed by crackdowns. Plus, there's a risk that the movement, which has so far remained largely leaderless and without a formal structure, could lose momentum or be co-opted by existing political forces. The future of the Hirak movement and its impact on Algerian politics is still unfolding. As we examine the situation today, we see the Hirak movement has prompted a rethink in how politics is conducted in Algeria. Notably, it has brought the role of the youth to the forefront. This demographic, which represents a large portion of the population, has been largely marginalized from politics in the past, but has been at the forefront of the Hirak protests. Their continued involvement will be crucial in shaping Algeria's future. Moreover, the Hirak movement has also raised questions about the role of the military in Algerian politics. Historically, the military has been a powerful player in Algeria's political system, often seen as the real power behind the throne. The ongoing protests have challenged this status quo and called for a clear separation between military and civilian governance. The role of women in the Hirak movement cannot be understated either. Women have been central to the protests, overcoming societal barriers to stand side by side with men in calling for change. This has initiated discussions about women's rights and gender equality in Algeria, adding another dimension to the movement's impact. However, the Hirak movement faces the challenge of translating the energy of the streets into meaningful political change. While the movement has been successful in bringing about some changes and maintaining pressure on the government, there is still a long road ahead. The entrenched political structures and interests are deeply rooted and will not be easily overturned. It's also important to note that while the Hirak movement has widespread support, there are differing views within the movement about what the future of Algeria should look like. Some are calling for a complete break with the past, while others are open to more gradual changes. Navigating these differences while maintaining the unity of the movement will be a significant challenge. Furthermore, there are external factors that could impact the course of the movement. Algeria's relationships with other countries, its economic conditions, and regional stability are all factors that could affect the trajectory of the Hirak movement. In conclusion, the Hirak movement represents a turning point in Algeria's history. The mass, peaceful protests have shifted the political narrative and posed a significant challenge to the established power structures. However, the road to lasting change is fraught with challenges. The movement stands as a testament to the resilience and determination of the Algerian people in their pursuit of a more democratic and just society. It also serves as a reminder to the rest of the world of the power of peaceful protest and the importance of civic engagement in shaping the political landscape. Thank you for watching Middle East Info. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep up with more detailed insight into the ever-changing landscape of the Middle East. Your support helps us to delve deeper into the complex socio-political issues of this dynamic region.